Webster defines a journey as traveling from one place to another. But in Journey to the Overland, you will do a lot more than just travel. From the moment your character leaves his hometown, you'll begin to experience the encounters and adventures that could only take place in Journey to the Overland. Whether you're new to fantasy gaming or an old role-playing veteran, you'll feel right at home, yet uncomfortably new to the world of Overland. Far more than a board game, but not quite role-playing, Journey to the Overland combines the best elements of each. Set in a world where sorcery, magic, and might are the greatest powers, and surviving is the only law, Journey to the Overland gives you what the other games won't: a chance to tackle it all alone. With its unique encounter cards, various scenarios, and extensive use of non-playing characters, you have everything you need to enjoy hours of travels and adventures. But the only way to truly appreciate the commitment and dedication that went into this game is to grab your favorite figure, grab the dice, and start playing. Welcome to a way of gaming you will never leave, because once you begin it, there's no returning from. A journey to the Overland. Previously on Journey to the Overland. Having previously made it out of the town of Milesdale, in order to take advantage of strong winds, Maverick decided to bypass the town of Zafton and cut through the infested mountains in the Wooddam Forest in order to make it to the lumber town of Wooddam. Yet as he entered the valley underneath the infested mountains, his way was barred by a warrior orc. But apparently unconcerned about our lone adventurer, the orc let Maverick pass. But like everything else on his journey so far, skirting the infested mountains would not be so easy, as our adventurer was overtaken by a sudden earthquake and trapped.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Journey to the Overland. If you're saying to yourself that didn't look like Maverick's journal and that doesn't look like Maverick, then you're correct. As I said in the lead up to this week's episode, when we last left Maverick, he was basically trapped somewhere in the infested mountains, which I think was somewhere right about here. Heck, 1721 is what I had indicated. So I indicated at the end of the last episode that I thought I had an idea how to help Maverick. And this character that you see here, this is Lila. And Lila is a character that I drew up in between game sessions. So I created her stats, I bought her some equipment, and basically I'm starting her on her way. Now, this gives me a good opportunity to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about in Journey to the Overland, and that's usually trying to do a two-player game. So now, while this isn't specifically a two-player game, some of what I do will be applicable if you do the two-player game. And I'm going to write a formal rule set or expansion on that soon. I'm kind of working on it now. I got some ideas. But you can play more than one character at a time. So you're not required to just play Maverick. I mean, you could have a dwarf character, you could have an elf, you could have a female, you could have a male, and so forth. But the one thing you should always do is whenever you introduce a new character, it should be at the beginning of a new game, or basically at the end of a 2-week period of time. So that way it's not going to affect the current cards and weather and things like that, because they're all going to use the same weather card, the same event card for that week. Now, and I was looking up the encounter cards. There's no specific time frame indicated of when you shuffle the encounter cards. It says the event cards are shuffled, I think it said once a month. The weather cards are shuffled once a week. And so I, as a rule, shuffle the encounter cards once a game. So that means every 2 weeks. But you don't have to do that. You can do the encounter cards once a month as well, which is what I'm going to do for this game. But anyway, since we've got Lila started now, let me tell you a little bit about her. Kind of show you her card here. So this is her, my sketch of her. You know, a cute young lady. She's from Milesdale. These are her stats. So I actually got some pretty good rolls for her. I mean, I think she's better than Maverick in some areas. But this time, instead of assigning the highest numbers to her her endurance and her ability, I wanted a character that would complement Maverick. So I gave her a high agility, which Maverick doesn't have, a high presence, and a high presence score. So she has, you know, a little bit below average endurance, a little bit below average ability. I wanted her to use a bow. Unfortunately, she only has a 28% short bow. Plus, she didn't have enough to buy arrows. So I was going to sell the bow and just get her some kind of sword. But then I decided, well, I didn't want to keep wasting money like that. And 28% is better than nothing. The way missile weapons work is it has... The missile weapons chance of hitting has nothing to do with your muscle or your ability, anything. It's tied to the weapon itself. When you buy the weapon, you roll for its percent score. Certain weapons give you a modifier. So this example, I had a +8 for being a short bow. So and I rolled a 20, which was terrible. So I got 28%. And you don't use the modifier table for creating statistics when you're rolling for weapons. So basically, she bought a crappy bow. Okay, so she can always sell this later and try to buy another bow. But for now, this is kind of what she's armed with. I don't even think I got her a dagger or anything. And she doesn't really have any arrows. Her fist fighting damage is only 2. You know, because her muscle score is low. So she's not really looking to fight. She has 100 silver pieces. She used all her gold on the bow. So what she is going to do is try to hire some help. So I think the last time I got somebody cost me 4 gold a day. So for 3 days was 12 gold, which was 36 silver. So she has enough to get some food and hire some help. And so that's what I'm going to do for her now. But before I do that, or in between doing that, when I get back, we're going to check and see what the weather's going to be like. I'm going to pull a new event card for this week, and then we'll pick it back up. Okay, let me update you on where we're at. I did decide to sell the short bow. I mean, I'd rather have it 25 gold pieces, especially if I'm going to be hiring help. Because what I'm actually thinking of doing is staying in town 2 or 3 days and trying to hire more than one person, which is something I thought about last time with Maverick. I bought her 8 days food for 3. And this is where this comes in, which I explained before. Because it's food for 3 now, she can feed herself and Maverick, and if necessary, her help with one by just subtracting 1 of these. So that's a very big difference. And if she was had 8 here and you had to feed 3 people, you'd be down to 5. She can feed 3 here and only be down to 7. So she did buy that. It came up to 38 silver pieces. So we subtracted that. She had 100. I gave her 25 gold because she sold her bow. So right now she has no weapon. This also brings up something else that I noticed from the last game that I didn't do correctly. She has 5,000 experience points to spend. And I looked this up because the XP table actually says you start out with 5,000 to spend if you have between 0 and I think it's 25,000 experience points. So, and that's right here. And so really everybody starts out with 5,000 experience points to spend. So Maverick actually still has his 5,000. And you can see there where it says if you're level 1, your total experience is 0 to 30,000, you get 5,000 XP to spend. And so that's what he has. Now, what you can spend it on if you go to the skills is not a lot. Okay? The lowest, I think the only thing you can get with 5,000 XPs is probably minstrel or like a bard or something. So let's just see here. The alchemist is 10,000 XPs. And these are your basic skills. The advanced skills have prerequisites. Most of your basic skills don't have like prerequisites for like characteristics or prior experience or anything. You can just buy them as you start the game. Thief is 10,000, warrior is 10,000, merchant is 10,000. So I can't afford any of that with 5,000 XPs, which is why you normally don't spend it. Minstrel is 5,000. Assassin is 8,000. And that's kind of funny because if you buy the assassin skill, you cannot become a knight. You will never become a knight. Now, when you get into the advanced skills, you're looking at about 15 to 20,000 XPs, as well as the prerequisites. So for here to be a fighter, you have to have met all of these requirements. So, and it gives you some bonuses or things like that. But I'm going to buy her minstrel. And this is why. So what it says here is a minstrel adds plus 10 permanently to their presence score when performing. So that means whenever I use her minstrel skill, I can then use her presence score and I get a plus 10. It says you have to pay 100 gold pieces for your instruments and books, which I don't have. So really, until I buy that, I won't be able to use her minstrel skill. And it says you may seek employment in a town or castle as a minstrel. And it says also, and this is what I really like, can modify the result of other characters or NPC roles that involve influencing or persuading someone, including roles on the NPC react. So if you have a minstrel with you, they can basically play, and then you get a bonus to their roles on tables like that. So then they also had this cool ability where they can perform for a warrior or knight and kind of increase their fame or their luck. So I'm going to buy it anyway, even though I don't have the money. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back. I went ahead and rolled for her minstrel skill. And in the rules, it tells you when you roll for skills, you do use the character generation modifiers. So I rolled a 40. Which there was a plus 15 modifier for that. So that basically gave her 55 with her minstrel skill. And that's here on page 38, where it says right here that modifiers for character, by using the modifiers for character generation. So she got a 55 with her minstrel skill score, which is decent. So I subtracted her XPs to spend. I pulled the weather card. And this is what we got. So basically there's fires raging in the forest. And basically anybody riding in the animals are killed by the fires. Any characters who remain in the forest will suffer minus 10 wounds every day that they remain in the forest as a result of the fires. If it rains, it would only be minus 5 wounds for that day. Plus nobody can enter any forest this week. So that's not really going to affect her, and it really won't affect Maverick. And the reason I'm mentioning Maverick is because even though I'm not playing Maverick right now and he's not on the board, I'm going to keep these weather cards so that when I get back to him, I have to resolve anything that might apply to him while I was playing her. And that's what you need to understand about playing more than one character or 2 characters at a time. So I wouldn't like swap off with her and go to Maverick and pull his weather for a week. If I play her for a week, then I have to keep a week worth of weather cards and use them for Maverick. The encounters don't matter. Everybody will have their own encounters. But the weather and the event cards do matter. Because if any of them affects him while he's kind of off camera, I need to resolve that when I get back to him, because technically right now he's probably just resting or whatever he's doing. But if I decide to play him some actions, I will have to resolve these, as in the first day, this is what the weather's going to be. Now, it's a little bit of a hack, because obviously I already know that there's going to be a forest fire on his first day out. So I wouldn't go into the forest, right? Because I know the card is already drawn. So in a way, you kind of know the weather in advance when you're doing it that way. Once both characters get together, it doesn't matter, because then the cards are going to be the cards. But if you're playing different characters in different locations, this is how you can do it. So the week I'm playing Maverick, let's just say I do resolve a week with him to do the week I'm doing with her. Then I do another week with him. Well, then I would hold those weather cards for her. So then it would balance out, because then she'd kind of have a week of knowing what the weather was in advance. So having done that, I put the weather card, which is, now actually this isn't even the weather. I'm sorry, this is the event card. So this is what's going on this week. And it says here that if the rains continue for 3 days in a row, and I don't know if I can focus that, then they will automatically put out the fire. Right? It says any day it rains this week. If it rains 3 or more days in a row, the forest fires will end. So that might also affect it. But I'm sorry, that's the event card. So I need to pull the weather card for today, because the event card is going to be what it is for this week. So that's going to affect her and Maverick. So I'm going to pull the weather card for today, but I know she's not going to be traveling, so I'm going to roll to see who we can hire. So I'll be back. Wow, okay, so something cool just happened, and I was hoping this would happen. I rolled on the Seek to Hire Help table, and I got a 44, which basically is Magic User. So guess who's back, ladies and gentlemen? You guessed it. It's Cortana. So this is beautiful. This is like, even a GM couldn't have done this any better. So basically, Lila goes into town. She's in Milestone looking to hire help. She runs across this magic user selling herself out. And obviously Cortana tells her, hey, I saw that Maverick. I traveled with him. You know, if you want to hire me too, you know, I'll travel with you. So Lila's going to take her up on that. And Cortana has joined the group. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be interesting. So I'm gonna do some paperwork. I gotta pay Cortana, buy her equipment and things again, and I'm gonna get them some lodging, and I'll be back. Oh, I did pull a weather card, and it said that there was snow, so she's not traveling today. This probably won't affect Maverick, so I don't have to worry about like giving him any wounds or anything like that. I was hoping it was gonna be like a sunny healing day, because then I could actually have added 1 to whatever he heals for today. But anyway, Cortana is back. So let me do some paperwork and I'll be back. Oh, wow. Look at this. So I took care of her food. I bought Cortana some supplies. And I pulled the next weather card, and look what I got. The lunar eclipse. No travel is allowed unless you have a lantern. Even with the lantern. This is the exact same card I think Maverick pulled on his second day out. That was the exact same weather when he tried to leave. That was the exact same card he pulled. So go figure. And I did shuffle the deck. But she wasn't going to travel anyway. We're going to try to hire help again. One thing I did do, which I will show you, is I bought a couple of days meals for one, because I didn't want to eat these. These are like, I think 9 silver for each one, whereas these are only 4 for individuals, and you get a discount if you buy. So like for 3 days meal for one cost me 9 silver, but it's cheaper than actually eating these by myself. And once again with Cortana, I basically equipped her out, or kitted her out, with simply a dagger and her food. I bought her 3 days food since she's been hired for 3 days, but I'm not going to start it till today. And we kind of discussed that the last ruse. So I figured this day she'd stay home and eat her own food and pay for her own lodging and stuff. So starting today, I'll start subtracting Cortana's food. But what we need to do now is see if we can hire one more person. Because Lila does have some gold on hand. The problem is without a weapon or, you know, any kind of skills, even with the magic user, we're not going to do well in a fight. So I'd like to get an adventurer or somebody that can kind of help me out with food and rations. So I'm going to roll my dice. Got 2 white dice this game, with the whiter of the white is my 10s. It actually has a 10 in the 0 spot. Okay. So that's my 10 right here. You see this dice if you can, I think. Let's see. Come on. So I rolled a 56 because this is my 10 die. So this is a 56. So I know it won't be another magic user. But I like this die because it has that 10 on it. So if you roll 100, it actually shows up as 100, which is cool. Although I don't think 100 would ever be great unless you're like rolling for an audience or something. But yeah, so that's why I'm using 2 white dice. But anyway, so what did I have? 56. So let's see who we can hire. We got the town activities. We rolled a 56. And guess what? No help is available today. So I wanted to get the adventurer. Because he has a dagger. He has a very decent ability score. But it said no help is available today. And the adventurer is available for 6 gold pieces. So that's going to resolve that action. I'm not buying a lantern. We're gonna eat. Yeah, we're going to eat, and then I'm going to try to hire somebody else again tomorrow. Okay. I changed my mind. I'm not going to wait around and try to hire anybody else because I only hired Cortana for 3 days. And according to the rules, you have to pay them in advance. So it's not like you can hire them for 3 days and then say, oh, I want to pay you for another day, because they have to be paid in advance. So whatever you pay them in advance for is the maximum amount of time you can keep them. You can't just extend their pay. There's no rule for that. So, and that's also kind of one of the timers that's built into this game. That means you have help, but they're going to be leaving. So that's going to force you to do things. You just can't rehire them without rolling again. Now, I could let her go and then the next day roll and see if I can bring her back, but that's kind of wasting time and money. So, which is why I decided we're going to just try to travel and get out of here. So I'm going to pull the weather card, and I'm going to do this live. Let's see what we get. Ha! This is the same thing Maverick got, a freaking blizzard now. -1 from movement rate. No air travel is possible. -10 from the ability in combat. But you know what? I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to move out into blizzard. Because I think the -1 won't really hurt me. But that -10 might help me if we have a bad encounter. Plus, even if I have to evade, I can still evade back in town. So let's roll for an encounter. I know it's 75% in open land. So I rolled 14. So I definitely have an encounter. Let's see who they meet. Oh! The Pegasus! The Pegasus! Winged horse called a Pegasus. The Pegasus can only be trapped by a virgin. And I guess Lila's a virgin. If you are a female, she's a female, or have a female NPC in your party who has never spent the night with a male, they may make an agility check. If successful, that female catches the Pegasus for you. If unsuccessful, it flies away. While mounted on the Pegasus, any magical attack against you or it suffers a -20 modifier. The attacks do 10 less damage than indicated. Pegasus are resistant to fire and can fly through most fires without... Wow, you could literally fly through the forest on this thing. This thing is cool. It flies at the rate of 6 hexes per day and is considered a 90% warhorse. Cool. Wow, I hope she catches this thing. Oh my goodness, I hope she catches this. We will beat a Maverick in no time. Let me get this roll done. Okay, I'm rolling this live. Her agility is 89. Man, if I fail this, I'm destined to fail it. 10. Yes. She's caught her a Pegasus. Wow. Be right back. Okay, I couldn't find my Pegasus model. It's one of my pet peeves is when you know you have something and you can't find it. It's like you can never find it when you want it. So I'm just going to go with this unicorn figure from Reaper Bones. That's one thing I like about this game. It gives you a chance to use all of those weird and wonderful NPC miniatures that a lot of these companies sell. So this also gives me a chance to point out something else with the rules. Is if you get a card and you roll and the card says that they join you, you actually hold on to the card, right, until it's no longer with you. Unless it says, you know, put the card back or whatever. But otherwise, you hold on to it. Also, because you do your encounters before you move, I can now move and get the Pegasus. Now, I can't ride the Pegasus today because it's not adjacent to me or the same hex. See where it says hexes away 1? So basically, the Pegasus, you know, if I'm in Milestone and I'm heading this way, because your encounters are always in the direction you're heading, then that means the Pegasus would be in, let's see, 1 second, in that hex right there. Okay, and that can be important because remember, you roll for getting lost after you roll for your encounter. So say you encounter this Pegasus, right, and it's always the direction you're heading. If I was heading in the swamps, it would be up here, but since I was going towards Zafton, it's 1 hex away, so that's 1 hex. But say this was a different type of terrain, like woods, and I had to check for getting lost. If I got lost, right, say I made a roll on the getting lost table, it says you're lost, you roll a random direction, and you go 5 hexes. Okay, because I just rolled a 5. Well, let's just say the lost table would have taken me, you know, up here somewhere, right? I would never get to Pegasus. It would never join me because it's not in the same hex with me, right? It's because I never made it to where the Pegasus is at. So that's very important when you look at how many hexes away things are. Most encounters, if you go into combat, that doesn't apply because combat gets resolved before you roll for getting lost. But since this encounter is resolved, and it's basically nothing left for Lila to do, her and Cortana, other than go pick up their Pegasus, it's not going to affect me. Now, if you have something like a situation like this, normally this thing will be here in the hex when you get there because you've already resolved it. But if you get lost and never make it there, it's gone. Okay? And that's important because in this example, Lila can only move 1, remember, because of the blizzard. Right? Normally, I could just reach the Pegasus and it would be with me today. But because of the blizzard, I can only move 1. Right? No air travel is possible. So I couldn't even fly the Pegasus today if I made it. But, so Lila and Cortana are going to move 1. Now, I'm going to try to show you something. Right? Because this is important. I'm going to go to Milestone Magic. And we're going to look up magic for Milestone. So Milestone has magic called an illusion, class conversion, and mesmerization. And what I'm interested in is mesmerization. So mesmerization says, blah, 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 if you can see that. Okay. This is a hypnotic trick that temporarily places any level 1 NPC under the caster's powers for 1 day. The NPC will not perform any life-threatening tasks while in this state, but they will obey all orders. Now, one of the things I was going to try to do is I was going to cast a mesmerization spell on the Pegasus, and then order the Pegasus to come to our hex. Right? So that way I wouldn't have to do another encounter or travel again tomorrow to get to the Pegasus's hex. Because I'm still not in the hex with the Pegasus in order to get to it, even though we're adjacent. But I can't because the Pegasus is level 2. So level 1 spells won't affect the Pegasus. Not to mention most Pegasus are immune to most magic, right? So it says any magical, well, it says magical attack. It doesn't say magic per se. So yeah, I probably could have did it on there. But you got to think like that, okay? When you play games that are solo or where you GM yourself, you got to think like that and use whatever kind of things you can to your ability. Because you're playing against the game, right? But the game is not going to help you. So you have to help yourself. But anyway, I'm real happy. If I can get on this Pegasus tomorrow, if we don't have a bad encounter that waylays us. Alright, sorry, but now you know what happened there, but I cleared some space. I went ahead and everybody did their daily meals, I did my movement, and I pulled another weather card. And look at this. I don't know, maybe I didn't shuffle my deck well, because an earthquake hits. So I have to see how this is going to get resolved. Holy cow. All animals and horses are lost. Must make an agility check. Failure, they will receive -20 wounds and will be stuck in their hex for 3 days. All animals and horses are lost. That's the part that bothers me. Because this would mean I lose my Pegasus. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Sometimes you can't win for losing. And I am going to lose the Pegasus because it's an animal. Oh my goodness. If I had just got one good flight. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So basically, an earthquake happened while the Pegasus was waiting on us. And he flew away. I mean, you wouldn't stay around during an earthquake either, would you? Alright, I have to roll their agility checks to see if they get trapped or if they get wounded, because they're not in town anymore. So, but fortunately they can pull each other out, and Lila has a high agility, so I'll be back. Okay, I passed Lila's agility check, so she doesn't get wounded. I'm about to roll for Cortana, because this could be funny if Cortana gets trapped, because Lila's muscle score is only 51. So then Lila would have to try to pull Cortana out. And Cortana would take 20 wounds. And really, this is my last day of Cortana even being with me. Wow. So we need to travel. So her agility is 62. Let me try and see what I get. Woo! She passed. Rolled a 54. So we're good. So, oh man, that's the Overland for you. The Overland giveth and the Overland taketh away. So, I guess we just got to keep moving on. We got a 75% chance of an encounter. You know what's going to be funny is I'm going to have to make a check for Maverick at some point. He might take another 20 wounds wherever he's at. Well, that's going to be interesting. All right, let's see if we have another encounter. Wow, man, I thought I was going to do something really slick, boy. Because if I had got to the Pegasus before the earthquake, it was in this hex. So then we go 6, right? And Pegasus can basically fly over everything. So you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We would have been the Maverick tomorrow. We would have been right there with him. Right there with him. Would have been a party of 3. Oh, and then I was going to have Lila give Maverick the Pegasus. And have the Pegasus basically drop Lila back off. Because I looked up, and this is a good thing, because I printed out the animal rules, which are now available at the Cheatography site. I'll try to make them available on Board Game Geek too. But, so, the rules for horses says, let me see. I'm trying to see how many people can a horse carry. So I think that the maximum is 2 people. I don't know if I put it in here. But if that was a war horse, wait. Whoa! Look at this. So there are only horses with an endurance value, or war horses. If the war horse is usually supposed to be killed, a roll is made. A successful roll means the war horse lives and is not injured. This applies to all situations involving the loss or death of the horse. So because Pegasus they said is considered a war horse, right? Remember the card? Remember the card. Woohoo! I think I'm in luck. It said the Pegasus is considered a war horse, right? A 90% war horse. It says anytime you would lose a war horse, you can roll for its war horse score, right? And it's a 90%. So basically, if I pass this check, I don't lose the Pegasus. I don't lose my Pegasus. So definitely, this is huge. This is huge. And I passed it with a 41. Sweet. Wow. Talk about pulling victory from the jaws of defeat. Okay. So now all we have to do is resolve this encounter and make it to the Pegasus. And I've got to give this Pegasus a name. I'll be back. Okay. So I named the Pegasus Espero, which is Spanish for hope. I did roll for an encounter, so let's see what this is. Fingers crossed. Raiding bandits. That's not good. There's 3 of them. There's 6 hexes away. You see a large party of raiding bandits being led by their leader, Hoovish. He and his bandits are heading toward your hometown, Milesdale. You have any troops and engage Hoovish and his troops and defeat them in battle. You and your troops may replace them and raid your hometown in their place by entering it and leaving in the same day. For the raid, you will receive 500 gold pieces. Well, I don't have any troops to engage Hoovish. So that means I have to roll on the NPC reaction table. And there's a lot of these guys, and they're tough. But they're 6 hexes away. And they would never catch me on my Pegasus. So let's just do an NPC reaction roll. I can't use my minstrel skill, but my presence score is 89. That might help me. Let me check something on the NPC reaction table. Because I don't know, sometimes you can get a modifier based on your presence score. I'll be back. I gotta check that. Okay, so no, there's no base modifier for your presence score. It's a straight up roll. So let's just see what they're gonna do, if anything. Woo! I rolled 93. Holy cow! That's almost an NPC comrade. NPC character will aid you in combat or other activities as long as you accompany them. They will join your party. So my girl Lila has just become the leader of a huge raiding party. Wow. Wow. Now, anytime it says that people will join you, you don't have to let them join you, right? You can actually not let them join you and go on your way. As for these guys, it says they will join her. So this would basically give me 3 dudes, right? Because you have 3 guys present. I think one of them is the leader, which is Hoovish, and he's powerful. And then he has 2 bandits with him, probably a sergeant and lieutenant, and then 1,000 troops. So my girl Lila can become the leader of her own raiding party. I mean, I'm tempted to just let them go, but why should I? Why should I? Okay, so this is going to be Hoovish and his group. So this is Hoovish, because I figured that was some kind of Mongol name. He's supposed to be mounted, but I'm not going to represent his horse. These are his 2 cronies, or henchmen, that are with him. And it also gives me a chance to show some of my troop counters. These are separate counters which are available through the backer kit. But this is what it means when it says you're leading troops. So we're going to take out 2 of these because each one of these represents 5,000 troops. right? So it said he had 1,000. So that would be two bands of 2 of these tokens. Now he's 6 hexes away. So I'm going to keep the miniatures off the table for the time being, other than to show Lila can now move. So she was here. She'll make it to her Pegasus, her and Cortana. This is Hoovish and his gang and his troops. Okay. So that's Lila encountering them. And this Lila must be like a Belit or Valeria. I mean, because she literally talked a band of raiders into joining her. She's friggin' riding around on a Pegasus. So, I mean, this girl is kicking butt. But, so this is just an image of them first getting together. But they're 6 hexes away. So, I'm going to count 6 hexes in the direction that she was heading. And normally, if you count and it takes you off the map, then you stop. So if they said 6, but you can only go 4 in the direction you're heading, you would stop. Like, they wouldn't be in the water. But for our example, since she was going toward Maverick, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these guys are literally in the same hex that Maverick is in, up here. And now they're up there waiting on her. Okay. And so if she makes it to them, they will join her party. So we're going to keep this card. We're going to put it off to the side. These guys are some good meat shields, which is why I joined them. Let them join me. Now, I am taking a risk because there are other cards where you might encounter a knight, or you may encounter some other character that doesn't like the fact that you're traveling with bandits. And they will either attack you immediately, or it'll put a negative result on your roll on the NPC reaction table. But who knows? Lila may be starting a career as a leader of her own band of bandits, right? So for the time being, though, we've got the Pegasus, because we did the 1 hex to move in the same hex with the Pegasus. So she's now riding the Pegasus, and I'll take that off the map for now, just to clean the map up a bit. And she can also fly. The Pegasus flies 6 hexes. So I think, yeah, it said it moves at the rate of 6 hexes per day. So she literally, at the end of this day, will be able to join her group, because she's made it into the hex with the Pegasus. Now it can fly 6. Cortana's not coming with us. This was Cortana's last day anyway. So we're going to dismiss Cortana and send her back to Miles still. There's no sense in keeping her. And then we're going to fly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that puts Lila in the same hex, not only with her bandit crew, but she's also reached Maverick's hex, because that's hex 1721. And I noted on Maverick's journal at the end of the last game what hex he finished up in. And I think it was 1721. So I think she's actually reached Maverick against all odds. There we go. So against all odds, she made it to her friend Maverick. And so we'll see how that's going to play out tomorrow. Okay, so I'm back. And what do you know? Well. Looks like things worked out in the end. So Lila has joined Maverick. She's gotten him some food. I've basically resolved the last few days on his character card. So he was losing 2 wounds a day. He passed his agility check for the earthquake, so he didn't take any more damage there. He was resting, so that was healing 3. So he was taking a net healing of 1 wound. The day that Lila arrived, he healed another wound. So that put him back to 36 as far as his endurance score is concerned. And Lila gave him a food for that day. So she did feed herself as well as her followers. So she had to use 2 of her meals for 3, because there were 3 raiders. and then it was her and Maverick, so she used one for that. But I think I'm going to stop here. We're at day 4 of week 3 for Maverick, week 1 for Lila. And there's a lot of decisions to be made. Lila has to determine whether she's going to keep the Raiders with her, which technically is going to slow her down because she's on a Pegasus. Maverick and her could ride this together and really make good time. But she would give up the protection of these Raiders. I mean, that's a formidable party to travel with. And if you're looking to do some adventuring and resolve some encounters, you'd want to keep them guys with you. Maverick is still pretty badly wounded. He only has a short sword, so he's not going to be much use to anybody in a real fight. One of the things Lila may decide to do is fly him to Morsh Monastery, where he can heal quicker, and hopefully she can come across some type of healing potions, or even get a visit with the father of Morsh Monastery, and maybe get the father to heal him. So that's an option. Another option is simply to give Maverick the Pegasus, drop Lila back off either in Milesteel or Zafton, and then let Maverick continue on his own. The problem is these guys are following Lila, not Maverick. So if she elects to do that option, or he elects to do that option, they would have to leave these guys behind, because they're going to stay with Lila. And, you know, if Lila stops adventuring, they're going to go their own way. So there's a lot of decisions to be made in the next episode. And I'm looking forward to it. But, you know, as Maverick always say, you know, if you keep the faith, you know, hope will light your way. And so our hero is alive. He lives to fight another day in the Overland. See you guys next week.
My name is Maverick. I'm from the town of Milesteel, and I live in the Overland. The Overland is a dangerous place. You never know what you will run into, and you never know what you will find. When at all possible, never ever travel alone. And when all else fails, it's better to run and live to fight another day. And in the end, if you have faith, hope will light your way.